let's have a look in the middle of the fridge and see what's going on in here. As you can see, there's not an awful lot going on. Still got some bacon rations hanging out the back there. Made some pasta out the other night, but unfortunately they're looking a bit worse for wear. Got a bit of an onion here. It's not too bad. I've got a mate whose name's Jimmy. Jimmy seems to be helping me out a lot, and I know a few of you out there know Jimmy as well, helping everyone out at the time of need. Bottom line is though, guys, not much going on here. Let's check out the cupboards in the freezer. What have we got in here? Alright, got some chips. That's not going to work. It's not going to do any favours to anybody. Only my son can live off chips and cereal for the rest of his life. But what we do have is some garlic. We've got a few spuds in there. Alright, now what's going on, Lockdown Legends? It's the next instalment on the ISO Sauce cooking channel, brought to you by me, ISO Sauce. As you can tell, still in my PJs, hadn't had a haircut since Jesus was a boy. So living the ISO life, and also, as you can tell, starting to get slim pickings in the cupboard and the fridge. Woolie's orders late, as per usual. No bother. I think we've got enough to start. So I think we're going to be cooking for lunch today. We're going to do a potato, caramelised onion, and meatball salad with a chickpea and red wine vinaigrette dressing. So let's get cracking. Alright, so we're going to get cracking with the salad. As a general rule of thumb, if it grows below ground, it's a cold start. If it grows above ground, it's a hot start. So things that grow below ground, turnips, carrots, potatoes, all these are cold starts. Above ground, obviously beans, snow peas, etc. The only exception to that rule, Legends, is the cocktail potato. Little chat potatoes, the tiny little potatoes. So these little bad boys, they're actually a hot start. So what we're going to do is we're going to get those in the water, get those bubbling away. Don't forget, we've talked on seasoning. Get a bit of seasoning in there. Get that nice salty sort of water in there, so it sort of builds that flavour into there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get the onions in the oven, nice and seasoned and roasting, and get this salad underway. Alright, so for the onions, there's a couple of different ways you can do caramelised onions, but for this particular dish, what we want to do is we want to keep a bit of the texture, because it's really a substantial part of the dish, because again, we're in ISO cooking and we've got slim pickings. So what we really want to do is keep a bit of the integrity of the actual onion. And what I mean by integrity of the onion is the shape. So we don't want to dice it, we don't want to slice it, we actually want to keep the integrity of it so it's kind of a good portion of the dish and adds a bit of texture to the salad. Now, generally speaking, you'd want to do this with the red onions, the Spanish onions, whatever you want to call it. But again, all we've got is the typical brown onion, the standard no frills onion that everyone has. No one has too much love for that. Nothing special about it, but what it does is it does create a main component to a lot of food around the world. So not just here, but in many places around the world. It's a staple. So what we're going to do is sort of get all the rubbish off, the stuff that we don't eat, get rid of that, get that in the old bin over there. No use to anybody here with us. Get some of this rubbish off the end here. And what we want to do is, as you can see, is the inside of the onion and that core bit. We want to keep that core bit on there, because what that's going to do is that's going to keep the integrity of the onion when it starts roasting and the heat gets to it and it starts all shriveling up and getting all funky, right? So what we want to do is get in there, get a couple of good wedges happening in there. Look at that, a nice good wedge like that. That's going to keep its integrity when it hits the heat of the oven. And get them laid in the tray. So what I've got in the tray here, I've got a bit of parchment paper or wax paper or baking paper, or whatever terminology you want to use, and whatever you want to use, and get that in there. Now, again, we've talked about seasoning, we've talked about flavours, we've talked about building flavours, Legends. We've got to build flavours into all the ingredients that we use, especially in simple dishes. If you're talking a simple dish, 2-3 components, wherever it is, pack that flavour in there, get that flavour into each component, because that's really going to be key to your successful cooking and again, turning something from good to great. So get these onions all cut up into their wedges, and then we're going to start looking at the seasoning component. So they're all nice laid in there. Got them all ready to go. They're all sitting there ready to saying to me, ISO sauce, get some flavour into me. Make me something special. So 2 old favourite chestnuts, salt and pepper. Get a bit of pepper on there. Got a bit of salt on there. and your extra virgin olive oil. Now, everyone talks about good olive oils and great olive oils and all this sort of stuff, and just like a fine wine, 100% it makes a big difference. You know, shop local. Guys, we're in lockdown, right? We've taken a lot of money's been lost to the Australian economy. You know, buy some local Australian olive oil. It's great, you know. It's really good. So, you know, invest a bit of money. Just instead of, you know, grabbing the Italian one or whatever it is, support your local community, support your local economy, and buy some local olive oil. So got some salt and pepper on there, a little bit of olive oil on there. Okay, these are all ready to go. I've got the oven preheated, ready to about 160 degrees. You don't want it too hot. So what you want to do is sort of slowly roast these onions. Now, typically, these onions, if they're raw, I mean, if you've ever bitten into a raw onion, you know, been out on the terps with your mates and had a dare or done something silly that you don't want to tell your other half about, you'll know how bitter these things are when they're raw. So you want to slow roast them. 160 degrees, get them in the oven and just let them go. You know, it could be 20 minutes, could be half an hour. Just let them go, get a nice slow roast and bring out the sweetness in these onions. Right, so the onions are out, they're nice and roasted, they're coming up nice and sweet. In fact, I'll show you. So here we go, nice and sweet. Got a little bit of crisp about them on the outside, and that's okay. That's 100% okay. Don't bother about that. But what we're going to do is we're going to cheat a little bit. We're just going to put a little bit of caster sugar on them, and I'll show you why in a minute. So we're just going to put a little bit of caster sugar on them. We've got our sherry vinegar here. We're going to make our red wine dressing, so well, sherry dressing, I suppose. It's going to be red wine and chickpea dressing. We've got sherry vinegar here. It's got a little bit of sherry vinegar. Now we're going to make the dressing out of this. So we're kind of adding the dressing and creating two different layers out of the same flavour, if you could, you know. So I'm going to put a little bit on that. And I'll show you why in a minute. So we've done that, just a couple of drops. Don't go too crazy, right? So you've got that sort of sweet, sour, you know, sort of thing going on here. Now, once we've added that, we're going to take these onions and we'll put them back in the oven. Now, the oven's turned off, right? So they're roasted, they're all good, it's all kosher. The oven's turned off. And we're going to put them back in there and just let them cool down in the oven and let them soak up those beautiful juices and sweetness of what we've just added. All right, legends, I just want to stop here. So, the spuds are out of that beautifully salted water, they're nice and cooked, and I'll show you. So here, skin's all cracked, little wrinkling, put the knife in, and we're all cooked. So at this point, it's like the Matrix. You can take the red pill or the blue pill. The red pill is take these spuds, they're ready to go, fast forward through this recipe for a few minutes, get to the end bit, to the dressing bit, make your salad, and Bob's your uncle. Or the blue pill. And the blue pill is adding an extra layer of texture and flavour to these spuds, which will come up in 2 seconds. Right, legends, for those of you that wanted to see the second half of the spuds and wanted to build a bit of that sort of flavour and texture back into those potatoes, this is what we're going to do. So basically, nothing fancy, simply get the palm of your hand, just sort of give them a bit of a press, just so they sort of semi-crush. And then when you season them, the salt, the pepper, the olive oil, so I want to get through those crispy bits. And then when you get them in the oven, that basically is going to crisp up and it's going to add that flavour. And you're going to see the end result. Just give them a quick crush, just like that. This one's a bit big, so I'm just going to sort of break it up a bit. Right. Then you're going to get your crusty salt and pepper. Get that seasoning and again build that flavour into that component of the salad. Salt and pepper, your extra virgin olive oil, a good lick of that. Alright. Alright, don't be shy with that. And I'll show you what it looks like now. And here we go. So basically these are going to go into the grill. Right, so we'll work most of the components for the salad. The last component we need to make is the meatballs for the salad. Now, if you remember in the fridge over there, in the old Big Nat fridge over there, I had one snag. So, let me show you how to make the meatballs for this salad. Got your snag. Squeeze the skin, look at that, little meatball. Straight in there, look at that. Nothing too hard, nothing too fancy, and a nice hot pan. Get those little meatballs in there, squeeze it out of the skin, and you got nice little meatballs that'll cook quick, that'll be nice and add some nice texture, and really give something to this dish. I mean, you know, we're sort of making this up on the fly, so get them in the pan there, get them some nice colouring on there. You've heard it all before, Lockdown Legends, you've heard it all before about getting colour and crisp and whatnot. So essentially that's what you're going to do, chuck a little bit of that sort of extra virgin olive oil, that Aussie extra virgin olive oil that you've got in your cupboard in there. They won't take long, they'll probably cook in about 7 to 8 minutes. Put them to the side. Now, what we're going to do is once they're cooked, we're going to start assembling the salad and make the dressing. Right, so our components are all ready to go, Legends. So we've got our spuds all ready to go. We've got our meatballs done, the caramelised onions are all sitting there, a little bit at room temperature, ready to go. So now it's time for us to start making the dressing. So, as you may recall in the fridge, I had hummus in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a chickpea sherry vinaigrette. So to start, we have our hummus. We have some Dijon mustard. We have sherry vinegar. And of course, our trusty olive oil. So, get yourself a teaspoon. And really, you probably want maybe, say, 2 to 3 teaspoons of hummus to half a teaspoon of Dijon. You don't want too much Dijon in there because the hummus is already packing a good punch. So we'll get a bit of that hummus in there now. We'll get some of that Dijon in there now. That's that. Oh, and Legends, I'll have you know, my food order finally arrived. So I have some parsley. So that's going to add a little bit of nice sort of a light flavour to it. And I found in the back of the cupboard some salted almonds. Sorry, some smoked and salted almonds. So smoky, caramelised onion, potato, good flavours, good texture from the almonds. So I'll add a bit of the almonds in there, which I found in the back of the cupboard, and some parsley as well. So, without further ado, we've got a hummus in there. We've got a little bit of a Dijon in there. All right, just give it a bit of a splash of the sherry vinegar. All right, you don't need to go nuts on it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to whisk in the olive oil nice and slowly and make a nice dressing. Right, so the dressing's made. Just to finish off the bits and bobs that we sort of, the late additions to the salads. The smoked almonds, just run a bit of a knife through there. You don't want it fine, you just want nice and chunks in there. Basically, you just don't want whole almonds in there. So just run a knife through that. We've got a bit of the parsley, as I said, come through on the veg order that came through just recently today, during the day. A touch of parsley, we're going to put through that. Now, the dressing's all made, so what we're going to do is we're going to get some of our spuds, chuck our spuds in there. We're going to get our meatballs in there. Okay, it's all the same pot. It's all the same bowl. Okay, I've made the dressing in the bowl. You're going to make the salad in the bowl. Okay, there's no point in making dressing in this bowl and salad in that bowl. And remember, Legends, you don't want to be sitting here washing 30 million bowls and pots if you don't have to. All right, caramelised onions. You know, leave a little bit back if you want. A couple, you know, so you can put it on top to make a garnish. Or get it all in there, whatever you want to do, right? So you got your bits and pieces in there. Got the texture from the almonds in there. You've got the parsley in there. Right, so it looks like we're pretty good to go. All right, Legends, let's plate it up and let's have a look at it. And here we are, potato, caramelised onion and meatball salad with sherry vinegar and chickpea vinaigrette.